let's get into the post-spring offensive line breakdown. Now, we discussed about it all summer, all spring, winter. We expect this offensive line to be really, really good heading into this 2025 season. PFF just ranked it as the fourth best offensive line coming into the year. So we're going to discuss the depth we're looking at, the starters, and the freshmen and everything like that. I guess we'll start first. The best player on this offensive line, All-American, first-team All-American, got his break, Jake Slaughter at center. This is as good as it gets in the country at center. We have no worries. You can have a worry about every little thing, but you can't really have a worry about Jake Slaughter here, and I think he's going to have a phenomenal season.
Yeah, I think, like you said earlier, interior linemen, centers, guards, not really valued the same way as tackles are, but I think a center specifically is so understated how important it is to have a good one. I think having issues at center can really screw a lot of things up, from communication to run blocking to pass blocking. There's a lot of different things that are not going to go well if you don't have a center you can trust. And like you said, Florida has probably the best center in the country, probably the first center that's going to hear his name called in the NFL draft next year. And yeah, that's huge. Having a returning All-American, because look, very few teams in college football have good offensive lines. I think that was the case last season. I think a lot of the top teams, outside of Notre Dame, really didn't have great offensive lines, and Texas too. And so to be bringing back a guy like that, and as we get into it, all the guys on this really is huge. And I think it's why that we're all pretty optimistic about this offense this season.
Well, yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I was watching, I talked about my NFL scout I talked to and everything. He didn't understand why Jake Slaughter didn't just come out. Probably been a second, maybe if he's lucky, first round pick. Doesn't happen too often with center, so that's really where you're questioning there. But there's not much left for Jake Slaughter to prove. He's already shown everything. He's just hoping to put more elite product on tape, and I guess he hopes that a team is desperate in need of a center and that they'll take him in the first round. So now you go to the guards here. I'm very confident in this room as well. You got at right guard Damian George, started here at right tackle for 2 seasons. Was it a season? I can't remember. And he was just horrible at right tackle. And everyone wanted one season. We all want to replace, but moves to guard, had a really underrated season last year. I think he fits well in the scheme. Really kept all those qualities that made him a good tackle, and translated some guards where we're worried less about people going around him. So I think you're really trusting him. And you have Kinjaya Harris, who is going into his third season here at UF. Started every game last year, I believe, at left guard here in his redshirt freshman season. So now you have a guy, a rare young player on the offensive line who started last year, who's now going into his second season here starting. I thought he played pretty well last year, and you're just hoping to get a bit more development from him to make him a better all SEC level guard.
Yeah, 100%. I think looking at these guards, Damian George is an interesting player to me because, yeah, like you said, played, I think, out of position his first year here, and you could tell. He was, I think, pretty obviously the weak link, or at least a weak link on that offensive line that season.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was an all SEC caliber player last year, but he was very solid. He was reliable. You kind of didn't have to think about him very often. And that's kind of what you're looking for from offensive linemen. You don't want them to, if you're noticing offensive line play, that's probably a bad thing. So I think he was really solid in that regard. Najee Harris, and I don't say this to be derogatory at all, more to illustrate how good this offensive line is. He was maybe the weak link on this group last year, and not even again, I'm not saying that to be negative toward him. He's a good player, but I think that just goes to show how good this offensive line was last season, and really should be again this year, because it's returning practically everything except for right tackle, which we'll get to. But yeah, I think this starting guard pairing, it really is. I would say this whole interior is, I think, as good. I'm not going to pretend I sit here in June and know everyone's rosters, but I have a hard time believing there are many teams that feel better about their interior offensive line situation than Florida does right now.
Yep. And now we go to the tackles, like you said. left tackle Austin Barber, a lot of hype around him, being talked about as a potential first-round draft pick. Um, you're probably hoping to get a healthy season out of him. He's had a bunch of injuries here, not major, but nagging injuries that just decrease your play by a little bit. And I think if you get a full healthy season of Austin Barber, you're talking about one of the better tackles in the country and in the SEC. And, I'm hoping we get that from Barber and hoping he can become a first-round draft pick. And then you look at right tackle, you're replacing Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, who was a really underrated tackle last year for us. We started Cam Waits in that first game, and he had a 0 pass blocking grade, which was just remarkable to have a 0. But Crenshaw-Dixon takes over that starting spot, and you notice there was just less and less talk about the offensive line and the tackle position, and it was a lot. Dixon's how much he played well, but now you're replacing him with probably Bryce Levette. He was a starter in the spring. I suspect he will start in the fall in the season. The first game against Miami, it was all negatives. I mean, you lose in 41-17 to your rival at home. It's going to be all negatives, but I watched it, broke down the game a bit more, and Bryce Levette had like 20 or so snaps. And I watched those snaps against a pretty good Miami defensive line. And Levette really impressed me with his blocking abilities and understanding of the offense. I thought you could have argued for him to start last season. And we end up seeing him start in the bowl game against Tulane. Tough start to that bowl game. Now he had Cameron Waits at right guard right next to him, who also struggled a bit, put a little bit more pressure on him. But I thought that he really settled in, and what kept going on in that game, he played really well. I'm excited to see him start here. I think he's a phenomenal guard. And if he can translate that to the right tackle position, I think we're going to have a phenomenal right tackle.
Yeah. I think the tackles, I would say the tackles I feel less good about than I do the interior, but I still think it's poised to be solid to potentially very good. Barber, another guy like Slaughter, who probably could have, been, I'm not saying he would have been a first round pick if he had gone to the draft, but maybe day two. I think a big win for the Gators to get him back. Obviously, I think when you look at sort of how non-active Florida was in the transfer portal, I think you can't ignore the fact that they clearly gave very large NIL contracts to Jake Slaughter and Austin Barber to get them to come back this year. And then the right tackle spot's interesting to me because I think it's really the only position here where there's even like a semblance of a competition. I don't really think it's one. Like, I think this is pretty clearly Bryce Levette's job, but I think, we didn't see him a ton. I think, like you said, pretty promising when we did see him. I think this is definitely the position where I have the most concern just because it's the position where we're doing the most projecting. We just don't really know exactly what Bryce Levette's going to look like. But then also, guys like Devin Manuel in there too, a veteran who we haven't really seen a ton of, but you could go to him if you needed to. So there's depth options, but I think that 5 that we've set up there is in all likelihood what you're going to see against Long Island.
Yeah, George, I don't think I'm not going to post that on here, but shout out Dijon Johnson, I guess. Moral of the story there. Shout out Dijon. But yeah, now we look at the depth at those positions. I guess let's go snake order, stay at tackle here. You look at who's going to be backing up. You talked about the possible bad tackle with Bryce Levette. I think the names you are looking at are Caden Jones, former 4-star recruit, Devin Manuel, who I'm surprised decided to stay on this team going into his senior season. Former Arkansas starter, played well at Arkansas, not too well here last year. But, him as your backup is really solid. If you had like a Devin Manuel on the defensive line, I think a lot of people would feel really confident about that D-line depth. But, you have those two. And Fletcher Westfall, who was a near top 200 recruit, offensive tackle, 6 foot, is nearly 6'9". Crazy size on Fletcher Westfall there. So, you look at those guys, those 3 will probably end up rotating to be the backups for left and right tackle. I assume they know what they're doing there, but yeah, I like the depth. You got your 4-star guys and you got an experienced Devin Manuel there. So I like that tackle depth.
Yeah, talking about Fletcher Westfall, first of all, 100% fits the Billy Napier tackle archetype. There's no doubt about it. Billy likes his tackles, very tall and big. I think he's a guy that honestly at one point earlier in the offseason, I thought maybe could push for a starting. Yeah, push. Yeah, we both. Yeah, you're right. We both did. Like, thought could push for the starting right tackle spot. Doesn't really look like that's happening, but I think a guy that will rotate in there. And I think, like, is it ridiculous to say that I think by season's end he's probably your sixth man, or like it's not six man's not the right word, but like for next tackle up?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think last year it was Bryce Levette, and he ended up playing both tackle and guard.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get into the guard depth here. I think you're looking at that sixth man as Roderick Kearney, but I guess he could be. I know I heard some good things about Caden Jones still. They really like him, and man, I mean, we'll see. It's too early to tell right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just kind of will be determined. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the depth here. I mean, look, no one has like incredible offensive line depth. If you have 5 good offensive line starters, you're in the in the minority there.
I think we might have some pretty dang good offensive line depth though. So, because we talked about the tackle. I mean, we talked about Manuel Westfall and Caden Jones. You have a good solid mix there. Then you go to the offensive guards. You have I forgot Roderick Kearney, who was a top 125 top 125 recruit, was an offensive tackle of high school, is a guard here. All you hear about in camp when you're asked like who was the toughest guy to beat 101, they always say Roderick Kearney, which just goes to show how good our starters are. Now maybe it's a thing of learning the offense and not picking up blitzes and stuff like that very well, but 101, they say he's the best offensive lineman on the team, or the best, the hardest to get past. So I think you're looking at him as your backup. That's really exciting for us. The other backup, you're looking at Marcus Maskell, another former 4-star recruit where's he out of? He's out of Louisiana, wasn't he?
That sounds right. I think maybe Georgia. I don't think he was a Florida.
Selmville, Georgia. Okay, it's out of Georgia.
Okay.
But yeah, 4-star guy, solid there. I mean, you're also looking at Noel Portenjogen and not Lagno. I'm not sure how to pronounce his names, of course, but like
Enoch Wangoy, I think is how you say it.
Enoch Wangoy. Okay, we'll go with that. But I think you have Kearney, especially because I mean you're going to interchange if he plays left guard or right guard. I assume. I think Kearney is a really good backup. If he gets hurt, then you're maybe a bit more worried. I mean, I don't know how Matt Maskell is going to be, and then you have your 2 guys from Germany and Europe or England, so don't really know how well they are, but. I really like Kearney there in that backups position.
Yeah, another interior depth guy that I'm kind of curious about is Jason Zandamela. A guy that was
center.
So that's what I was. That was like what I was gonna say. Was what I'm curious about is if he has the positional versatility to play anywhere else other than center. Like if he has the potential to provide interior depth. I'm not sure. That's kind of the question I was going to raise.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, you go to center, then you have Slaughter obviously starting, then Jason Zandamela, who ironically is our highest rated offensive line recruit in the Billy Napier tenure, but is also the shortest offensive lineman on the roster. You think of highly rated offensive line recruits, you're thinking of those tackles who are big, monstrous guys. But then you look at our highest one, it's the shortest offensive lineman on our roster. I mean, we haven't seen him play much, obviously, but I'm kind of just trusting that learning from Jake Slaughter and how good our offensive line development has been. You have a guy of this magnitude from high school. I got a feeling he's got to be at least pretty good, decent, and he's a backup to Slaughter. I mean, if Slaughter gets hurt, it's really gonna suck. Maybe you try to move like a Kearney or someone else inside, but maybe Zandamela is ready. He has that high ranking for a reason. So,
yeah, and I mean, like, I think the interior is an area. Like, I think I would rather, like, if you told me Florida has to take an injury to the offensive line, and it can be either the interior or the tackle spots, I personally would take the interior. I kind of feel a little bit better about that depth as of right now.
Yeah. Then you look at the freshman we bring in, Jahari Medlock, 3-star offensive lineman, also out of Atlanta, Georgia, 6'5", 308. So, I mean, we like our tackles tall. So I'm not sure if Medlock is a tackle or a guard. He was a tackle in high school and was listed as a tackle in recruiting services. So I don't know. I got to see his wingspan. And then Tavares Dice, who was a 4-star also out of Georgia, a longtime Auburn commit, 6'3", nearly 6'4". I know they talked about him having some positional swing of being able to play guard and tackle. Not going to see much. I doubt we see much of him. Also, he suffered an injury. I forgot about that. So I don't think he's even going to have a chance to play. Not listed on the roster, but will be coming on a campus. You also bring in Daniel Daniel Pierre-Louis, who is a 3-star interior offensive lineman. Was there any other freshmen, or is that just those 3?
I think it's just those 3. I think that's it.
All right, so look at tackle. What would you give that grade? What would you give it as a grade?
Like the whole room, like all the tackles to get starters and depth.
Yeah.
I think I'd give it like a B, probably.
B?
Like,
wow.
Well, I mean, I think Barber's good. I think we know that. I think we don't know that Levette is good. We hope he is. Like, I think the problem is there's just not a lot proven for the tackle group outside of Austin Barber. Like, I think the potential's high, so maybe like B+. But I think it'd be hard for me to go too much higher than that, just because I think there is there's just way more projection we're doing for the tackles, I think, than we are for the interior guys.
That's fair. I'm gonna go A- because I mean we both like Austin Barber. We'll see if he can become like a first-round pick. But I mean, I'm really high on Bryce Levette. Now maybe he isn't as good as a tackle, but the fact that they're playing him there right now, and they had it it was pretty known going into spring, among them at least, that Bryce Levette was going to be the guy. So, and then you include the depth. I really like the depth there, so I'm going to give it an A-. And then guards. Ooh, guards is tough. I think I'm also going to go. I mean, guards are a bit tougher because you're not going to have many guards who are projected like first, second, even third round picks there. So if you have like some of the best guards in the country, they're not going to really show off the page. But would the best guard group in the country be an A+? Right? It would have to be, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like relative. I'm probably sitting at. Sorry, what were you saying?
I said, like, even if they're not, projected first day 1 or day 2 picks, like.
But just because like there's not a lot of projected day 1 interior linemen in the first place, so it's like to me it's all relative to like the position group. So like I have this, I'd say like an A- to like a soft A. Like I kind of probably am a little closer to an A-, but I'm not that far from bumping it up to A. Just again, there's a lot of youth and inexperience kind of behind the start. If you're just talking about the starters, I think it's an A+ or AA+.
You think George and Harris are an A+?
I guess. Okay, you're just saying guards.
We can include Slaughter. Slaughter.
I thought we were doing interior in general. Yeah. I think that's fair. If we're not including Slaughter, it's probably starters more like an A-. If we're including center, then I mean, AA+ probably, you got to say, right? I mean, best center in the country.
I'll go A+. Yeah, including Slaughter. I'll go A+.
Yeah.
So really,
I'm pretty high on George. I think George is like gonna be. I'm not saying all SEC, but I think he's gonna be like an upper echelon interior lineman in the SEC.
Like maybe third team all SEC.
Yeah, like legit, maybe something like that.
Yeah. So and Slaughter, if he does what he does last year, is first team easily. So if you have 2 all SEC interior,
I mean, it's like Slaughter. Is he going to be an All-American? I mean, like he should be. I mean, that really should. I mean, that's a lot to. That's what I'm saying. That's like a lot to put on a guy, but like he should repeat if he's healthy.
I'm not going to come out here and make my predictions being like, oh, he did it last year, he can't do it again. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he did it last year and it wasn't a fluke. I mean, he played. I know. Was it DeCosta posted who Slaughter had to play last year, and it was Walter Nolan, Shamar Stewart, Norman Law from Tennessee, Deion Walker, Keyshawn Silver, and other names that are not coming to top. Joshua Farmer, Daryl Jackson. Like he was playing elite defensive linemen who were day 1, day 2, and day 3 picks in the NFL draft. So he did it against elite competition, and he did it really well.